Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Give us a call, 888-589-8840. We're having just a little bit of difficulty with the call screener software, so be patient with us, and we will get that cranked up and ready to roll here momentarily. Now, I want to go back to the IRS thing just for a moment. Well, Jeff, let's grab audio bite clip 8. This is President Obama on Benghazi. We're going to cycle back. Okay, all right. We'll hold on to the Benghazi clip here for a minute. Maybe what we can do is back to the IRS thing, Rob. Can we grab clip 1, the Jay Carney clip? Now, Jay Carney is out there Friday. I mean, he got in hot water dancing on this IRS thing because it had broken by Friday. And remember how President Obama is positioning himself so nothing is ever his fault. I think that's why he disappeared at 5 p.m. on the night of the Benghazi attack. Where did he go to? Nobody knows. Why? I think the answer is obvious. He didn't want to be anywhere near this thing. He knew this thing was a potential IED, an improvised explosive device that could blow up his presidency, could blow up his electoral chance. He didn't want to get anywhere near this thing. So again, and that's what he said to everybody. Look, I told him, do whatever you need to do. You guys handle this. So President Obama then is in a position to say, hey, things blew up at Benghazi. Don't talk to me. Go talk to the people that I entrusted with this responsibility. If something didn't get done, it's not my fault because I delegated it to people that I thought I could trust. So that's the idea. I think President Obama is prepared to throw virtually everybody under the bus in order to protect himself, and that may include Hillary Clinton. I think the reality is the way that President Obama is positioning himself is ultimately this is Hillary Clinton's fault. She was in charge of the State Department. She was working with the intelligence community. If you're looking for somebody to hang this on, you need to hang it on Hillary Clinton. He's not going to come right out and say it, but he's going to keep shoving. He's going to keep directing the attention to people that way. Jay Carney always talking about the intelligence community, always talking about the State Department. We were just going on information that they gave to us. So what's he doing? He's putting the blame there on the State Department. And who's in charge of the State Department? Well, that's Hillary Clinton. Well, back to the IRS thing for a second. Here is Jay Carney, and listen to what Jay Carney does with this IRS business. Clip 1. Let's listen.
IRS is an independent enforcement agency, which I believe, as I understand it, contains only 2 political appointees within it. The individual who was running the IRS at the time was actually an appointee from the previous administration.
You believe it? It's Bush's fault. Guy running the IRS was an appointee from the previous administration. It's Bush's fault. Everything is Bush's fault. Now here's George Will, soundbite number 2. He's on Sunday morning program with Martha Raddatz and on This Week, and they are talking about this IRS business. And George Will says a fascinating thing in this soundbite. Let's listen.
But they said, A, it was inadvertent, or just some odd underlings out in Cincinnati who did this, and there was no political motive whatever involved. Now the question is, how stupid do they think we are? Just imagine, Donna Brazil, if the George W. Bush administration had an IRS underlings, out in Cincinnati, of course, saying, we're going to target groups with the word progressive in their title, we would have all hell breaking loose. May I read you something from an ancient document?
Yes, you may. I would be surprised if you didn't.
This is the 40th anniversary of the Watergate summer here in Washington. He has, through his subordinates and agents, endeavored to cause, in violation of the constitutional rights of citizens, income tax audits or other income tax investigations to be initiated or conducted in a discriminatory manner. Section 1, Article 2, the impeachment articles of Richard Nixon.
So that's George Will saying, look, this was part of the impeachment articles. This was one of the impeachment articles of Richard Nixon. Now, Nixon wasn't impeached. He resigned before articles of impeachment were filed, but if he hadn't, he would have been. And part of the articles of impeachment, listen to this. This is, again, what George, we were just reading from the articles of impeachment. He has, through his subordinates and agents, endeavored to cause, in violation of the constitutional rights of citizens, income tax audits or other income tax investigations to be initiated or conducted in a discriminatory manner. In other words, this was one of the reasons that Richard Nixon was hounded out of office, is that his subordinates, remember, everybody that works at the IRS is a subordinate of the president. They are his agents, and the subordinates and agents of Richard Nixon were using the IRS to pursue income tax audits and income tax investigations. And George Will's point is that this is an impeachable offense. Richard Nixon was on the verge of being impeached. This was one of the articles of impeachment. If Nixon doesn't resign, he's going to get impeached. Why is he going to get impeached? Well, one of the reasons that he used the IRS, or allowed through his subordinates and agents, the IRS was used to punish his political enemies, and that is exactly what is going on here with the IRS and these Tea Party groups. We find out now that by April of 2010, 18 different Tea Party organizations had been targeted, including 3 that had already been approved for tax-exempt status. So 3 of them had their tax-exempt status. Then the Tea Party really starts to take off, and so their tax-exempt status already been granted. It was now hauled back into the IRS for further review. By June 2011, the unit had flagged over 100 Tea Party-related applications, and the criteria used to scrutinize organizations had grown considerably, flagging not just Tea Party or Patriot in group names, but also, listen to this, these were groups that the IRS was targeting by June of 2011. Groups that were working on issues like, quote, government debt, taxes, and even organizations making statements that, quote, criticize how the country is being run. So anybody that was for constitutional government, anybody that was for smaller government, anybody that was for non-tyrannical government, the IRS was going after them. 100 different applications from conservative groups by June of 2011. The Wall Street Journal writes about this today, saying that the heading of the piece by John McKinnon and Siobhan Hughes, wider problems found at IRS. The Internal Revenue Service's scrutiny of conservative groups went beyond those with Tea Party or Patriot in their names, as the agency admitted Friday, to also include ones worried about government spending, debt, or taxes, and even ones that lobbied to make America a better place to live, according to new details of a government probe. So you got a group and you put something like, we would just want to make America a better place to live, that will arouse the suspicion of the IRS. You know, and the links to Nixon are inescapable. Even Terry Moran from ABC tweeted out a criticism on Friday morning that this was a truly Nixonian abuse of power. Now, you would think, again, to show you the way that the mainstream media, they're not sure what to do here because they really want to try to protect Obama if they can. So that's why in their early reporting, you know, they went with the meme that these were underlings in the Cincinnati office of the IRS, low-level flunkies. The Obama administration, the leaders, they had no idea what was going on. This was all done. This was skullduggery by bureaucrats in cubicles somewhere. And so they were okay with that meme. So Terry Moran, Friday morning, says this was a truly Nixonian abuse of power. Now, when you talk about a Nixonian abuse of power, I mean, the first word that comes to your mind is impeachment, because that's what he was impeached for, a abuse of power. And, you know, what Terry Moran is saying, hey, this is in the same category as what Nixon did. But then by Friday night, Terry Moran, ABC, didn't even mention anything about the story. Now, you would think if you had a neutral media monitoring the IRS, and even somebody in that media says this was a Nixonian abuse of power, you would think that the next thing you would get would be lead stories on the evening news. Instead, Terry Moran buried the thing all together. Now, I want to go back and just close the loop on that anti-Semitism in what the Obama administration was doing, where they didn't just go after Tea Party groups and patriot groups and smaller government groups and lower tax groups and groups that just wanted to make America a better place to live. They went after Jewish organizations, one of which was a purely religious Jewish organization. Didn't even have a political agenda, didn't even have a political platform. They just wanted to promote observance of the Jewish faith in the United States. But the IRS was not content with that, and they followed up with them, and they required that this religious organization state, quote, whether it supports the existence of the land of Israel, end quote, and they demanded that the organization, quote, describe its religious belief system toward the land of Israel. So basically, do you believe that Israel has a right to exist? If you say yes, then you're going to be in trouble with us. If you have a religious belief system that prompts you to support the state of Israel, likewise, that is going to create serious questions in our minds here at the IRS. So all of that is going on. So hopefully we'll get our software glitches fixed with the caller software so we can take your calls over the course of the second hour. Gallup, by the way, releasing a poll today, well, actually on Friday, I think is when I came across this, indicating the new national survey, indicating that 58% of adults in America believe that abortion should be illegal in all circumstances or only permitted in a few. That's 58% of Americans believe that most abortions should be illegal in America. America turning into a pro-life country. We are fighting a winnable war. Back after the news.